Hey. Okay, well, I thought I would talk about something a little different today. The Dyatlov Pass incident, which occurred in Russia in 1959. Essentially, 9 hikers went into the Ural Mountains and died mysteriously at a place called Dead Mountain. It's a local translation. A bit of a clue, maybe, that it wasn't going to end well, but there we go. No one is entirely sure what happened, but all 9 of the hikers died. And when the bodies were found, they had unexplained injuries. Their tents had been cut to pieces from the inside, and the bodies were also found without proper shoes and clothing. Some of the bodies were also radioactive, which caused quite a bit of consternation at the time, though more recent tests have determined that the degree of radiation was not necessarily indicative of anything sinister. What prompted me to make this video is a book that I've just finished reading, actually, called Dead Mountain by Donnie Eichar. Specifically, the opening, the prologue, reminded me of something out of John W. Campbell's Who Goes There, which was made into the film The Thing in 1982, directed by John Carpenter. The prologue really stayed with me, so I thought I would do narration of it. I was going to do the whole book, but it's written in the first person, so it wouldn't feel right to me to narrate it all. It wasn't my journey, and also that it's a complex story, and I don't think that maybe I'd get all the nuances in a narration necessarily. The theory postulated in the book of what happened to the 9 hikers is a convincing one. Essentially, that infrasound was responsible for the incident, probably caused by a pair of tornadoes in the F2 range. The idea is the tornadoes came close enough to the tent to expose the hikers to infrasound, which is sound below the level of human hearing, but which can produce disturbing physiological and psychological effects. They then panicked, tore their way through the tent, and ran into what was essentially the Siberian wilderness and died of exposure. So, here is my narration of the prologue of Dead Mountain by Donnie Eichar. As always, I do not own this material, with all such rights belong to those who legally own them. I'll be putting up some photos from the book itself, along with the narration, to make it interesting and so that you're not looking at a blank screen. Cheers, and I hope you enjoy it. Two figures trudge across a snowy expanse. The peak of Ortorton Mountain stands icy and grim in the distance, a lone witness to their miserable progress. It is afternoon, though difficult to say how late. Time of day tends to lose its meaning in this wilderness, where the sun is a mere smudge behind cloud cover, and the haze is so pervasive as to make earth and sky indistinguishable. The pair push forward into the headwind, their bundled bodies a fleck of punctuation on this vast, wintry page. The men are university students, in search of friends who have been missing 10 days. They tell themselves that this is a rescue mission, not a recovery. After all, the 9 missing hikers, 7 men, 2 women, are highly accomplished, having completed numerous mountaineering expeditions into this region. In fact, the missing are members of the most esteemed hiking group at their school, and there is no reason to believe that they are not alive, counting the days until rescue. Perhaps the two men imagine a reunion of schoolmates just ahead, beyond the next snowdrift. But other than the occasional dwarf pine, there is nothing to see. The sun is dropping. The searchers don't have much time before they must turn around and rejoin the rest of the team at base camp. Weather conditions are volatile in the northern Urals. Snow can fly in fast and thick without warning, and hurricane-force winds are a persistent menace. Though the morning had given them clear skies, threatening clouds have since collected, and the wind is already whipping snow from the ground in prelude to a storm. It looks as if it may be another day lost. But then, through the disorienting blur, the men spy something that is neither rock nor tree, a dark, grey shape. As they draw closer, they find a flapping tent. Though its twin poles stand obediently in the wind, a section of the tarpaulin has surrendered under the weight of recent snows. Conflicting thoughts of relief and horror flood the searchers' minds as they approach. They shout for their friends, but there is no reply. They pass an ice axe sticking out of the snow. Then a half-buried flashlight left in the on position, its battery spent. One of the men moves towards the partially snowbound entrance. The tent is a thick, canvas fortress outfitted with a triple barrier of fabric and fasteners designed to keep out wind and cold. As the young man begins to clear away the snow, his companion looks for a faster way inside. He picks up the ice axe and, in several swift motions, brings it down on the canvas, fashioning his own entrance. The men enter the buckled tent, their eyes immediately darting over its contents. As is typical of camping in this climate, an insulating layer of empty backpacks, padded coats and blankets lines the floor and periphery. At the south end of the tent, roughly 80 square feet, are several pairs of ski boots. 6 more pairs sit along another wall. Near the entrance lie a wood axe and saw. Most everything else has been stowed away in packs, but a few personal objects are visible. A camera, a can of money, a diary. The men share a wave of relief as they realize there are no bodies, but there is something curious about the place, the way everything is arranged. The ski boots standing in disciplined formation, the bags of bread and cereal positioned sensibly in one corner. The stove is in the center of the tent, not yet assembled, and an open flask of cocoa sits frozen nearby, as if waiting to be reheated. There is also a cloth napkin bearing neat slices of ham. The entire arrangement gives a distinct impression of someone having tidied very recently, and, if not for the collapsed tarpaulin, one might expect a lively band of campers to return at any moment, kindling bundled in their arms. The men step back into the snow to consider their discovery. They give in to a moment of cautious celebration, comforted in the idea that their comrades have not perished, but are out there somewhere, perhaps in a snow cave. As the two scan the immediate landscape, not once does it cross their minds that a forsaken camp is cause for anything but hope. Yet they cannot begin to fathom the conditions that must have compelled their friends, all 9 of them, to abandon their only shelter and vanish into the stark cruelty of the Russian wilderness.